Hello, welcome to WFUZ-TV, the People's Voice podcast. I'm Blair Castro, here with Thomas Jenkins, and we have Mr. Rodney Walker with us today, who's running for United States Senate to represent us here in the state of Alabama. Mr. Walker, thank you for coming all this way to Gulf Shores and coming over to our studio and meeting with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's really not a long way. It's about 4 hours from home, but we've got a lot of things going on while we're here this week, and so forth. So we're glad to be on your station today, and thank you for having us.
So let's talk about that. Where are you from in Alabama? What's a little bit about your background and your experience and what motivated you to run for Senate?
So me and Stacy, we live in Lineville, Alabama, which is in Clay County. That's about 20 miles south of Anniston. And we live on a cattle farm. We have 3,000 acres and 750 mama cows. As far as my companies, I'm the career businessman in the race. We have Patriot Fueling Centers, Patriot Fuels USA. We have Wedowee Quarry, Hatchet Creek Leasing, and we have Walker Construction, which is a construction company of GC since 1991. But we're very diversified, and we have lots of great people that work with us. And the reason that I am very motivated to be in this race is I believe we have to have career business people in the race. If we don't, our country is going to go away, and we're going to, our businesses are going to be hurt, and our country could very easily be bankrupt if we don't stop printing money and start running it like a business.
So going back to that, I think you have sort of in common with maybe President Trump and some other leaders that you have that business background and that your campaign is mostly funded, I believe, by yourself. You're not taking PAC money or like special interest money, if I'm not mistaken, for some of these groups that people are concerned about.
Well, yes, ma'am. I would like to answer a couple of those questions that you had. I do feel like that I am like President Trump because I'm a business leader. I do believe in peace and so forth. I believe in helping all of the people of the state of Alabama. But moreover, President Trump's only going to be in D.C. for another 2 years. And so we've got to have leaders that can think on their feet and not be told how to vote. People that represent all of the people of Alabama and not vote the way the big bureaucrats want them to do and so forth. And so, that's my stance on that. And I very much would like to assume the role that Tommy Tuberville has and be on those same committees that he has and keep moving Alabama forward.
What does moving Alabama forward look like for you and your vision?
Well, to me, we have a wonderful state. I love this state and I love all the people in it. But, as we bring in more manufacturing, we've brought in Space Command, we're bringing the FBI Center. We brought Fannie Mae that's coming to Birmingham. Handren just opening up the new submarine plant in Cherokee, Alabama. The Port of Mobile is booming with all kind of things. But infrastructure is a huge deal. And to me, that's one of the most important aspects that we need in our state. We've got to widen I-65 to 6 lanes to get merchandise from Huntsville and from Tennessee and things down to the Port of Mobile. Y'all, the Port of Mobile is booming. We've got cargo containers going in and out, coal being shipped out of Tuscaloosa and Walker counties through the Port of Mobile. We've got our ag. We've got a grain elevator that stores 3 million bushels at the Port of Mobile. Lumber products are being shipped out, but we have to go down a 4-lane highway to get there. We've got to fix our infrastructure. I-20, I-10 flyover bridge here in Mobile to keep people from having to go through the tunnel. Just think if there was an attack on that tunnel, it would basically shut down the southeast. And it's important that we fund those things. The dredging of the Port of Mobile, all these things have to be done through federal max money. Some of it's 90-10, some of it's different percentages, but you've got to have a senator that brings home the bacon. And you can have manufacturing facilities and you can have jobs, but if you can't get from your house to those jobs, how is it, or if you can't get the product from the manufacturing facility to the destination, how have we accomplished anything? We must work on our infrastructure, whether it's roads and bridges, railroads, river systems, power. We've got so many things. Even the fuel lines that we sell fuel from, those were put in back in the Eisenhower days, and we've got to upgrade those things, because if we don't, at some point in time, it's all going to fall apart on us.
That's so true about I-65 and about the tunnel and the traffic problems here. I know we're on an island here in Gulf Shores and we see things like that. And right now they're, working on the canal, doing new traffic route that I think opens up like in a couple of days over
Yeah,
there.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And people, like you said, I got an invite to something the other day. It was 2 miles away and it was going to take like 20 minutes to get there. I was like, why is it taking me 20 minutes to get 2 miles down the road? Like there needs to be more widening of stuff. Absolutely. Because you can't pass and you can't really like be productive if half your day is spent sitting on the road.
So, I would like to take that a step further. I'm talking about right now in 2026 about widening I-65 to 6 lanes, and I-20 and I-22 is already 6 lanes. But y'all, in the future, 12 years from now, we'll need to be talking about 8 lanes in those highways. As our people grow and as our industry and manufacturing things grow, we've got to look into the future and see that. We just can't sit around and wait for it to come and then say, oh my goodness, what do we do now?
How do we balance that need for infrastructure growth with preservation of food security in the state?
So, food security is one of my main concerns. Y'all know I'm in the cattle business. I'm very concerned about Argentinian or Brazilian beef coming
Absolutely, yeah.
into America, coming across our borders and things like that. I'm going to call out JBS. The way our food supply works for beef in America is there's 4 main packing facilities that are in the Midwest, and most of our beef is raised throughout the country, and then they're sent to the Midwest to be finished and then processed at 1,300 pounds, and then they're distributed across the United States as steaks and hamburger meat and so forth. But if we allow foreign food to come into our country, then you have things like hoof and mouth disease or this new tick that's coming across the Texas border from Mexico. We have got to have people that understand our food supply and protect it, because our kids and our grandkids, that's what we got to worry about. I'm 56 years old. I got to eat nice, good food and so forth. But what about the future of our grandkids? We got to make sure that they still have good food supply. And that's what's so important, that people understands that food does not come from the grocery store. It comes from farmers somewhere in America that feeds us, and we can never let that go away, because if we lose our food supply, then we become a third world country.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm a senator that understands that, and that's what I need people to elect me so I can take care of our food supply.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of the most important things that people are overlooking, is the number one way for a foreign entity to take over our country isn't going to be to come here and like bomb it all, even though it's potential, but like they're going to buy up all the land and they're going to control all the food. And it's happening right before our eyes, and it's like no one can really do anything about it, and it's a little scary. Like last night I ordered 3-pack of organic beef and it didn't even come because it wasn't there. And that's the first time it's ever happened. Usually they'll have something, it's just high. But yeah, the shortage is real, and we're getting to a point where we're not going to be able to sustain ourselves.
A couple of points that I'd like to go back over on what you just mentioned. There is what they call country of origin labeling. And if y'all know, if you go to the store and if you look behind on the restaurant, it says this fish is a product of whatever country and it's farm raised or a wild caught. That's so important. But beef right now and also chicken and pork does not have that labeling, and we're pushing to make sure that happens, that you have the country of origin labeling on your products. Then you hit on our land. So my granddads were both in World War II, and they said that at the end of World War II, that it was said that those foreign countries would take over America without ever firing a shot. And so you mentioned about foreign entities owning our food supply. Well, there's pork companies already in the Midwest that are owned by Chinese companies, and of course that's really not any good. We need to take those companies back. We'll have to buy them back or whatever. But y'all, I want you to understand that in Alabama, There's 2,198,000 acres of our land that belongs to foreign entities. Now, if you don't believe that, look it up on the USDA Foreign Owned Entity website. And then what I'd like you to do is cross-reference over the Oil and Gas Board website for the state of Alabama. Now, if you do those two, you're going to find that these foreign entities are buying up land that sits on top of our crude oil. And this is in Escambia County and Covington and Crenshaw and Conecuh. That's where we have so much crude oil in the state. And then up in the western part of the state, we have a lot of natural gas over from Tuscaloosa and over through St. Clair County. It's very important that we take that back. Florida has gained their land back. They don't allow foreign entities to buy their land anymore. Do y'all know number 3 in the nation, Texas is number 1? This is a big deal. This is taking over the state of Alabama, and nobody's paying attention to it.
That's really informative. I was wondering about our reliance on, foreign oil. People say that we, are getting oil from overseas a lot, and then we have other people say that we have a ton of oil here. So what's like the reality in that, and how reliant are we, and do we need to have more of our own oil coming here?
So we do have a lot of oil here. The problem is over the years, we've not really pumped that oil out of the ground. We've relied on Saudi Arabia or other countries over in the Middle East. But we do need, I have a saying, drill, Bama, drill. And let me tell you something. You might look on the Oil and Gas Board website and you see that there are a lot of oil wells in those counties I just mentioned, but they're only like 1,000 foot deep, and they say that they're dry wells. Well, the trouble is that they drilled them down and they pumped it down to that level. You've got to drill those wells on down to now 5,000, 6,000 feet and frack the ground and let the oil come into those holes and then pump it out. Now, we're also pumping a lot of oil off the Mobile Bay. Out there, you'll see oil rigs and that type of things. We have a refinery over in Saraland, and then also Hunt Brothers has a refinery that's in Moundville, Alabama. So we have the capabilities in Alabama to provide our own oil, but we have to take care. We have to be energy independent is the right word for it, and quit worrying about foreign countries. And right now, when the Strait of Hormuz has been closed, Alabama and other states like Texas and so forth, Louisiana, there's ships coming here picking up oil and taking them to other countries where they're not able to pull it through the Strait of Hormuz right now. So that shows you that we have plenty of oil. You might want to take this into the price of oil and things about that. If you do, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. And also, as a follow-up, what would you say to people that might be concerned about the environmental impacts of doing all the deeper drilling?
So I don't really feel like personally that there's an environmental impact on drilling for oil. You have about a 1 acre site that you have the pump jack on, and then you have a tank, and then the truck comes by and picks that oil up. Or if you have enough wells, then they also go down a small pipeline to go to a gathering facility. Then that land winds up to be in forest and things like that, in pine plantations or other areas. But Alabama has a law that you can only have one oil well for every 160 acres. 160 acres is a pretty large area. And so, there's not going to be any environmental concerns, in my opinion, of that. And it's certainly not hazardous. It's something that we're bringing out of the ground and processing it. It's a God-given mineral that we are able to survive with and on.
Why is there more regulation on that than building a 4,500 acre solar farm in Stockton?
So I'm just going to tell you to start with, I'm against solar farms. I'm against wind farms. I'm against CO2 pumping it into our ground and so forth. We need regulations, and I just might as well go ahead and get that out there. The trouble is this, is the Biden administration, I'm not picking on people, but y'all, we can look this up. The Biden administration put all of these energy initiatives in, and what they do is they fund people through subsidies to be able to put these in. Everybody knows that they're not going to produce enough electricity. Now we have these windmills that we're trying to dispose of. It won't be long we'll have to be worried about how we're going to dispose of all the glass panels from solar farms. But my problem is this, they're taking up our agricultural land,
yes,
and we're ruining our food supply. And it goes right back to what we talked about a while ago. We have got to protect our food supply, and putting a darn solar farm on it is not protecting our food supply. It's taking it up. And I want to take that a step further. You better read the laws and know what's hidden behind things. There's a regulation called EUDR. That's the European Union Deforestation Regulation. And what it says, y'all say, oh, that says European Union. It doesn't matter to us. Oh, yeah, they brought it over here and put it on our books and everything. And what happens is that a man that's in the farming business, he cannot go back and convert land. If he sells his land to solar panels or to housing projects or anything like that, then he wants to go and cut some pine trees and bring that back into agriculture production. That's not allowed anymore. Last year, May of 2025 and December of 2025, these laws went into effect that they regulate and they look where you're cutting that timber from. And if that timber is cut off land that's turned back into agricultural land, they can literally pull that money back for your pines. So a man that comes out to cut your timber now on our farm, he's like, oh, I can't cut this because you're trying to put it back in pasture land. Well, I've been doing that all my life. We have pine trees. We take part of that. We clean it up and we put it in pasture land. It's still converting the carbon dioxide, giving cows a place to grow, feeds America.
Mm.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about your background in that I believe you had worked for the sheriff's office in Clay County and you had a bit of a law enforcement tie there and that you flew helicopters. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, ma'am. I very proudly can tell you about that. So I flew for Clay County and Randolph County Sheriff's Department. I was the chairman of the Randolph County Rodeo Fund, and we had a rodeo that I was over for 9 years, and then it's progressed and other people's taken that over. But I was very fortunate. I've been a helicopter pilot now for 26 years. I didn't realize that till long ago that I started flying when the planes hit the towers in 2000. And so I'm very proud, and I served the 8 years, like I said, and I was able to save a lot of lives. We was able to rescue a lot of Alzheimer's patients and different people that would wander off. I was also the person that was flying the helicopter for the Department of Agriculture when we busted up the $1.2 million theft ring that was in Lowndes County. And I'm very anxious. That was converted over to the ALEA, and then it's kind of dwindled down. In Baldwin County, Sheriff Lowry has a wonderful program that helps agricultural people. He's got a task force that works with that, and I'd like to see that spread back across the state again, hopefully through the Department of Agriculture. And there are people running for that office that say they're going to bring that back. It's very important. You don't think much about it, but a deputy in the sheriff's department doesn't have time to go out and worry about, a disc gets stolen or some cows that are stolen or whatever. They have more important things to do, like drugs, DUIs, domestic violence, and there's just not enough deputies to take care of all these things without having a special program. Some counties, only have a couple of deputies on daytime and then a couple on nighttime. So It helps a lot to have a task force that works with that. So I hope I answered that correctly, but it was our helicopter, and we still, I'm sworn in today, and I would gladly help any sheriff's department, a rescue squad if they needed any help. That's one thing that I've done in my life that I felt like that I really done something important when I laid down at night.
That's awesome.
And it's boots on the ground, low level flying. I wasn't in the military, but I feel like I served my time for 8 years. And like I said, I'd gladly do it again today. But I was flying dangerous missions and really helping boots on the ground for people in the state of Alabama.
So I went to your website and you definitely have, I think you cover the most issues, like actually are issue driven of any website that I've seen from a Senate candidate. You probably have like 20 plus issues on there, which is great because I'm somebody that actually wants to go read through it. What are some of the highest priority ones, besides ones we've already kind of mentioned, that people have brought up to you that you think other people aren't really talking about?
Well, so I would love people to look at our issues, and I am issue driven because that's what people need today in the state of Alabama. We don't care about somebody's score or something like that. Are you going to bring home the bacon, and are you going to work for the people of the state of Alabama? But you asked me some of my important issues. One of the biggest things was Mobile Bay, we've got to put a turntable at the end because y'all don't know it, but we can put the ships up in there. They just finished the 50-foot dredging of the port, but you can't turn them around, so we've got to dredge out the end of the port. I'm very proud to say that I've spoken on this since June of 2025. Katie Britt has just been able to appropriate $36 million for that project. And so that's been handled. There's a lot of other things that we feel very happy about that along the way of this campaign that's been presented and things have already got done. Some of my other issues is I want to bring all of our prescription drug manufacturing back to the state of Alabama. Right now, 72% of that is manufactured overseas by foreign adversaries. Y'all know that most of us take a little blood pressure pill if you're my age, and it would be so easy to kill people off by putting something in our blood pressure medicine. I mean, let's not joke around. The coronavirus came from China, and you know how many people did it take out? We can't allow these foreign countries to keep on manufacturing our drugs and perhaps if they wanted to killing our people. That's very, very important to me. I spoke about the issue about the land. It's very important for me to help take this land back. We spoke about infrastructure, and I'm adamant about bringing home the bacon to Alabama. But one of my most important issues is we've got to balance the budget, y'all. When I started this race, the national debt was $36 trillion. Today it's $38.9 trillion. That's on the Congressional Budget Office website. I've seen some fake stuff on Facebook trying to say it was 31 trillion, but you need to check that out. But what nobody talks about is our government has borrowed $600 billion in this fiscal year since October the 1st of 2025. They're right on track to borrow another 600 billion. We've got to stop printing money, and we got to send people to DC that their first thing that they want to do is pass a balanced budget amendment to our Constitution. And then we need to start working on that budget in February and not wait till September the 30th. We can't send our people home. We can't close the government down. We've got military people that's overseas that are fighting for us that aren't getting a paycheck. Their families are here at home suffering, wondering how they're going to make their house payment, wondering how they're going to make their car payment and stuff like that. That's TSA officers and everything of that nature. I will not ever take a paycheck when our government's closed down. And I think it's ridiculous that we have people in DC that are.
Absolutely.
Completely agree with that. It is true. I've only heard one other candidate aside from you kind of mention the budget. It's sort of like they just assume money is this endless supply and that they can keep just pulling it from, God knows where. So, maybe you have a good point. Maybe it takes somebody who's got experience working with money and managing money to sort of think of it in that way.
I think so, because let me tell you something, in business, there's not anybody in business that doesn't have hard times. You know what I'm saying? Because business goes up and down, and you learn how to get the tough skin and how to manage business and how to try to make things work out. And it's important. And right now, it seems like all of a sudden, everybody claims that they're a businessman, or they're an outsider. Nobody wants to be, I'm a career politician. Well, yes, you are. If you've been up there for 15 or 20 years, or you're a career politician, you know. I'm not talking about the sheriff's department or the revenue commissioner or anything on the county level. That's totally different. I'm talking about the people that we send to DC. And y'all know I take a lot of flack over term limits, but I believe the U.S. Senator, it's a 12-year term, and I believe that 2 terms, and then you ought to have to come back home. Now, maybe if you're a great person, you might do something else for a few years, and then you could run again if you wanted to. But I believe we need term limits, and people's like, some people, they're like, oh no, we don't need that. Once you get in there, you can stay. No, that means that you're bought and paid for by the crooks and the bureaucrats that's up there. That's the reason that we have a swamp, as we call it, in Washington at this time. We got to clean them people out. And look, if you think that you make friends, you also make enemies too, because there's not a person alive that doesn't have haters or whatever. So once you have that cuts off the funds for Alabama, because, your enemy isn't going to help the state of Alabama if you're the senator. So you got to work hard to try to forge those relationships,
So what was kind of like the main motivating factor where you were like, okay, I have to be the one to step up and run for Senate because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing as an option? What was like the main motivator that made you do it right now at this point in time?
Three things: God, my wife, and our business. Because those three things, and there's people that we speak about this, but all of a sudden everybody becomes a Christian when it's election time. I want y'all to know that I was saved and baptized at Southside Baptist Church when I was 13 years old, and I'm very proud of that. I'm not perfect, and there is no other person that's a Christian that's perfect. The second thing is my wife, our kids, our grandkids are very important, and she sees my deep-rooted heart desire to help the people of this state, and we got to have people that brings unity and helps all of the people in this state, from all the way. The people in Gulf Shores or Baldwin County think they're forgotten. People in Lauderdale think they're forgotten. All the corners of the state feel like they're forgotten. But I want to represent all of the people, rural, suburban, no matter where. I want to represent them. And the other thing is business. If we don't send business people to Washington, D.C., we're not going to have a business, and we're not going to have a country. And so my dad used to say, son, if you're in politics, people won't do business with you. And I said, Dad, if I don't get in politics, we ain't going to have no business for people to do business with. And y'all know this, and it affects everything. And we've got to have people that understand that and want to work for our country instead of working for themselves.
So we kind of started this station because I felt like mainstream media has their chosen candidates, and they say these are the front runners, and they put them up in these polls. And I feel like it's not really accurate, and it's not really a fair assessment. So we have a purpose, I feel, to showcase everyone who might not, be getting the same poll coverage as everyone else. So what would you say to people that think, well, it's not in the top, like one of the alleged chosen people in the mainstream media, so I don't want to like split my vote, or, what would you tell those people who might have that concern?
I can tell you several things. One is we have a huge amount of grassroots support. The people that go vote on May 19th are the people that's going to determine this race. Not a poll of 200 or 300 selected people that have to be subscribers to this or subscribers to that, or maybe they're in this exact geographic area where they're going to get the votes that they want, or the people to say what they want. And the other thing is, even yesterday, my wife got a text message from a man in Lee County who's running for an office, and he said, this is what's wrong with the poll. Rodney's name isn't even on here. So you have 3 candidates, and then you have undecided. Well, has anybody thought that's the reason that there's 35 to 40% undecided? Is a huge amount of those are our votes. When we run a poll, we showed that we got 21 to 27% of an informed ballot poll. And then other people have run polls that are running for other races, like in East Central Alabama. It again shows that we have 26 to 27%. But a poll is just like toilet paper, and you know what you do with that. But in other words, they're only good for the people that are paying for those. And if I'm the Club for Growth, which is in Washington, D.C., and I had put $6.5 million behind the candidate, I promise you, if I paid for a poll, it's going to say exactly what I want it to say. Sure. It's not going to say my candidate is losing. It's going to say he's on the top. And then if I'm the power company or whoever that wants to support a candidate, and I happen to own a news media outlet, and I'm getting support for them, and I'm working for this person as a consultant, that's something that you need to hit on, is all of these news media outlets now are consulting for people. So whoever they're consulting for, that's who's going to be at the top of their poll that they're putting out. So I'm just going to go with this, that I go back to the toilet paper, and you know what you do with that. And then I'm going to say that May 19th, that's the poll that is counting, and that's the poll that I want everybody to go mark Rodney Walker on.
What's been your favorite thing about this campaign season and getting to travel the state? What's kind of been something new that you experienced that you like the most?
Well, I actually love all the states. So as we drive around and I talk about this or this and say that's where so and so lives, my wife says, "How do you know so much about our state?" It's because I love the state. And other people that's running, they're in their little bitty niche. They don't get out. But I love the whole state, all the counties. We travel all the back roads. And here's the thing: is the most favorite thing is making new friends that I might have not known before and building those relationships. And those people saying, "We want to come to your farm and visit you," or "We want to have an event for you," or whatever. But I'm building lifelong friendships. And that's what I enjoy the most of anything. I really do.
Do you have anything you would like to say in closing to people that may want to learn more, or tell them where to find you and what they can do to support you?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I would. Y'all can find me on our website at walkerforalabama.com. You can also look on there. You can find my phone number if you'd like to send me a text message, or if you'd like to reach out to me. That's the same phone number I've had for 40 years. If you want to come visit us, you're welcome to come to Lineville, Alabama, and you won't have no trouble finding us there. If you'd like to help our campaign, we certainly would love a donation. You can donate on our website. That would be wonderful. We have ladies that are giving us $25. Anything counts, and it just means so much to us if you want to do that. But the most important thing of all is we're having this huge party on May 19th. It's going all over the state, and I want everybody to come and join us. I want you to go down to your local voting house. I want you to go in, tell them you want a Republican ballot, and you go in there, and on U.S. Senator, I want you to vote for Rodney Walker, because I'm a man for the people. I want to help all of the people of this state, and I'm not just going to disappear once you elect me. I'm going to work hard for you. I'm not going to work just Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm going to work 6 days a week. We're going to go to church on Sunday. But in other words, if y'all just go vote Rodney Walker, I very much appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.